Over time, populism replaces the Grange. Populism means movement of the people, and leaders of alliance groups that are taking part in Grange movement realize that in order to make some of the far-reaching changes that they need, they're going to have a larger base of political power. The Populist Party, of course, takes the place of the Grange. Supporters were typically Western and Southern farmers and some low-wage laborers. This is a reform-based party, meaning it's a party organized to change things. And they demand changes that will improve the conditions of farmers and laborers and help out with their debt. The Omaha Platform is the 1892 goals of the Populist Party. And basically what the Omaha Platform calls for is an increase in money supply, making more money available. And that money would be backed by the silver standard as well as the gold standard. So this is called Bimetallism. Also, there would be farmers' cooperatives that would work together to achieve their goals. There would be a graduated income tax, and by graduated income tax, that means you get charged a tax based on how much income you have. So the more income you have, the more taxes you will pay. A federal loan program to help out farmers, a secret ballot to end fraudulent voting, an 8-hour workday for laborers, and restrictions on immigration. And this is because they were concerned about immigrants coming in from other places that would work for less money, bringing prices down. The economic problems that were taking place are spurred on by the Panic of 1893. This is a bank panic, and it causes the nation to enter a recession. Why? Because farmers are overextended with debt. Railroad construction had expanded faster than the markets were growing. Okay, so many railroad companies simply weren't making enough profits and went bankrupt. Also, the government's gold supply had thinned. This was one reason why people suggested backing money with silver as well as gold. And what happened is when the supply of gold was running low, people panicked and traded in their paper money for gold. So stock prices fell rapidly and the price of silver plunged, causing silver mines to close. So you can see the sort of downward cycle here. 15,000 businesses and over 500 banks are forced to close. And of course this causes more debate over what to do about money and the money supply. Bimetallism, of course, as I mentioned, is using both gold and silver standards for backing currency. Gold standard is just using gold to back money. And the Populist Party suggested backing silver and gold with a ratio of 16:1. The word gold bug, you'll see in the title, it's gold bug versus silverites. Gold bugs are people who supported the gold standard. This came from an Edgar Allan Poe story called The Gold Bug, and it referred to those who favored, of course, the gold standard. Greenbacks are another name for the paper money, and people in the Populist Party supported using greenbacks, which would be backed by both silver and gold reserves. This is a little excerpt from the 1892 Populist Platform, otherwise known as the Omaha Platform, and it reads, "The farmers of the United States are up in arms. They are the bone and sinew of the nation. They produce the largest share of its wealth, but they are getting, they say, the smallest share for themselves. The American farmer is steadily losing ground. His burdens are heavier every year, and his gains are more meager. He is beginning to fear that he may be sinking into a servile condition, a condition of being a servant. He has waited long for the redress of his grievances. He's waited a long time to have his problems addressed. He purposes to wait no longer. So after building this platform of populism, we get to the election of 1896. The election of 1896 sees its first populist candidate, William Jennings Bryan. He is nominated by the Democratic Party, and he supports free silver or bimetallism. So he is in favor of both silver and gold backing American money. He's up against the Republican Party nominee, William McKinley, who of course favors the gold standard. McKinley is backed by very wealthy supporters, and the result of this election is that populists are really undecided on what to do. They decide to back William Jennings because of his support for bimetallism, but they choose a different vice president from the Democratic Party that was initially selected. In his campaign, William Jennings Bryan, who was an amazing orator, gave a very famous speech called the Cross of Gold speech, and it argued against the gold standard in support of bimetallism. He warned not to crucify man on a cross of gold. So we shouldn't put everything, our livelihoods, our lives, on a cross of gold. William McKinley was known for what was called a front porch campaign. Like I said, he had very wealthy supporters, supported the gold standard, and he campaigned harder than Bryan. So in 1896, this map here shows the results of the election. The electoral vote there is in red. That was McKinley, and the green is Bryan. McKinley wins the election, and populism collapses as a direct result of the election. And of course, the gold standard is adopted. Bimetallism goes by the wayside. But the legacies of populism are that ideas were adopted by the Democratic Party. So many of the ideals of the populists were adopted by the Democratic Party and eventually carried out by the Democratic Party in the early 1900s. The Populist Party supported the common man, not just the wealthy or elite. And it showed that the common man can organize and have a political impact, despite maybe a lack of money. Also, it showed that reform is constantly needed and is the responsibility of the government. So that's it for populism. We'll do more activities related to populism in class. So I look forward to seeing you then.